And we're live. Luca Nation, episode 679 of Lucas Tigers of Bronze, the Fractional Report before opening bell, brought to you by Collectable. And I'd like to ask you guys one thing right off the bat. Please subscribe. Our channel's growing. We're getting more and more viewership. A lot of our viewership is in Cage's domain, Spotify, Apple Podcast, his silky smooth voice. But our YouTube channel, it's important, it's growing, it allows us to do a lot of things. So please, if you're not subscribed, Luca Nation Network, please subscribe. We're going to get to some fractional report data, some collectible marketplace data. I hope we could also have a little bit of fun because I'm probably going to get skewered. I was very heavy on the Bucks and in the way that I only can, probably a little bit arrogant as well. And now they're knocked out. And hats off. I think Celtics played incredible. Grant Williams, PC player now. People are going to collect him. But hats off to the Celtics. What can I say?
I mean, 4 for 31 from 3 is not going to cut it against anybody. Giannis kind of disappeared in the fourth quarter, although I'm going to give him a pass, right? I mean, he's not your three-point shooter. They didn't really have a three-point shooter. And when you go down by as much as they went down, you don't expect Giannis to have too many points because they're trying to shoot their way back into it, and just none of the shots fell. Refereeing was terrible again. People are flopping all over the place. They had some issue with water on the floor. I don't know if that's because, they just played hockey there a couple nights back. But, yeah, man, I mean, for Game 7, it was a pretty crazy, though. We talked about it like after Game 3 or Game 4, and you told me, hey, the spread is 1. Wouldn't you expect the Bucks to be favored by more? And I did, but I understood why it was a 1 point because every game was basically decided by 1. And then even that game after we talked about it was the one where I think it was a 2-point win for the Bucks because of the missed free throw. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it would have been a 1-point game. You know what I mean? And so to have it come down to 7 games with teams that know each other as well as these two got to know each other, for it to be such a blowout, such a unexciting fourth quarter. One team shot the lights out, and one team just shot themselves in the foot. Couple questions. What do you do if you're that team?
Vegas is right. Vegas is always right, man. It's crazy. They set the line at -5. It's unfathomable. Please go ahead. Ask some questions.
No, what do you do? What do you do, right? What do you do, right? Do you realize that you took the Celtics to 7, and if just to go with the narrative that if you had Chris Middleton and he wasn't injured, your team is significantly better, and you probably beat the Celtics in 6 or 5. Do you go with that?
I see. It's hard to know because Chris Middleton wasn't there, right? So now you have to decide if he's your.
He was wearing Anthony Davis's outfit. He was wearing Anthony Davis's jersey. He was in street clothes.
That's tough. That's a tough question because you do the what if on both scenarios, right? What if he was there? Maybe we win, but you don't really know because you don't have the evidence.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, do you tear it down? Do you tear it down?
No.
Do you start adding some pieces? I mean, what do you do? I know Giannis is young, and he's European. You didn't play here, but he came into the league in 2013. So we just watched his 10th season playing. For the people who were trying to formulate, like Kendrick Perkins this week, people who were trying to formulate, an argument for Giannis saying that, this guy should be on the Mount Rushmore of players and, he's going to win multiple championships and, win multiple MVPs. There aren't that many opportunities. This one, I think I tend to agree with you. This postseason looked like it was tailor-made for him. Who's he going to be afraid of? The Warriors? They have no one over like 5'3". He should dominate those guys. And, the Celtics, Robert Williams there wasn't there, but Al Horford decided that he was going to play like he was 8 feet tall. This was tailor-made. How many more seasons, is Giannis going to be able to, lead a team of nobodies as you see the progression and improvement of the Lukas and the Jaws of the world, getting better and closing the gap on him. And the Zions when he plays for the Knicks. So
on the Bulls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, I think he was coached by Doug Collins before Phil Jackson. correct me if I'm wrong here, but
I mean, you might be right. You might be right. I mean, when he
there
came
was
in
a
the
period.
league in what 84, right? I was 7 years old when he came in. I don't remember his coach.
So why I say
People
that
love,
is
by the way, before we do that, people love you asked yesterday whether or not I remember watching Jerry West play. People got to realize I got a lot of messages. People got a kick out of that. Well done. They're like, why don't you just kick Cage in the balls and just say you're old? You know, like it's fine. It's all
so. I didn't mean anything by it. So it was Kevin, Paul Westhead, which was actually the Lakers coach in the Showtime Lakers. Kevin Lowry, I can't say his name. Stan Albeck, Doug Collins, Phil Jackson.
So you got
And that was
Collins right before.
all during that. And Doug Collins was beloved by the players. He was super player friendly. And that was all during Jordan's time. And then they brought in Phil Jackson. And not only did they bring in Phil Jackson, Cage, they brought in this guy named Tex Winter, who established the triangle offense. And what the triangle offense did was it allowed you really to create a system that Jordan was the best player, but the ball it was a system where Jordan was a part of it, not the whole system.
Right.
So my question
found the open shooter.
To answer your question, like, what did the Bucks do? I think it starts organizationally. Like, if you look at the Celtics, what's the coach from last year? I can't remember his name.
Brad
He moved up to Brad Stevens. He moved up to the front office, right? He moved up as a GM, and that changes the whole system. And they brought in Udoka, different defense, different system. So with the Bucks, for me, I'm curious what they want to do with Coach Bud and the system, and if they're really utilizing Giannis as effectively as possible. Because Cage, the question isn't how great Giannis is. I mean, he finished with 25 and 19. The guy's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's, are we using him in the right way? Right? Because
first
he's going to
player
get
in a
worn
playoff
down.
series ever to have 200 points, 100 rebounds, and 50 assists. Pretty crazy. I mean, these numbers mean nothing. It's like why Jokic has the best PER because somebody wants him to. But
he competes on both sides of the floor. He's not a problem. He's not a head case.
It's actually
he's
a point, by the
coach's
way.
dream.
The coach. Here's one thing I would have changed, and I was shocked. I was saying it the whole fourth quarter. Why, when the Celtics score and they inbound the ball, do they give it to Giannis to bring it up the court? More often than not, he's bringing. And you see, when they took him out with a couple minutes left, he was gassed. He was dead. Like, he was breathing heavy. You know, he had nothing left. He had nothing left to give. Why force him to be the one that gets pressed, that has to dribble around guys? Why is your best player, who's not a point guard? I mean, you know, I get it. You say Joker runs kind of like a point center, but he's not bringing the ball up, you know, from out of bounds. They had Giannis bringing up the ball. You know, he's not Trae Young. You know, even that little bit over the course of a game, while the bodies are, you know, they're on the floor, he's getting knocked around. You know, he's banging in the post with Al Horford. That stuff adds up. And then in the fourth quarter, he's not. He's gassed. I mean, I don't know why you would do that. That's a coaching thing. Why doesn't he yell out, "Hey, stop! Let Drew Holiday take the ball up"? You know.
Yell out, or I mean, that's the thing. It's pretty easy to change. That's an offense, man. That's what you put that in the beginning of the season, though, Cage. It's hard to change it later on. It's not like let
Drew someone else bring the ball up.
It's how your plays are set up. I know what you're saying, though. You're absolutely.
I mean, the plays were let him bring it up, and then when he gets across the half court, let him bull run people, which every jump shot he took missed. You know, is this? I mean, he's great. He got the points. He got the numbers. You know, and for the one Giannis item that's on, you know, that's left on Collectable from a fractional standpoint, you know, is this now, you know, a weak spot? Is Giannis being exposed? Because just as we could say, oh, the Celtics, you know, they beat a Bucks team without Middleton. You know, the Bucks last year beat they everything broke for them. Right? They beat, you know, just Durant and an injured Harden, no Kyrie, right? They beat,
media narratives, but Cage, those are all media narratives. In reality, you just play the team that's in front of you. Every season, all the way dating back to the beginning of sports, there's injuries, there's suspensions. That's just, you play the team that's in front of you. No excuses. Right. You shake the hand and you say, this team was better than us in this series, and the Celtics were. Incredible.
I mean, you know how we value these guys, though, you know, on their greatness, on their rings, on their all that stuff, right? You know, it's these young guys. We like Mahomes is a good one, right? We say, hey, he got his MVP, he got his championship. Can't take that away from him. You know, Ja, Luka, the prices are building in a championship. You know, an MVP. then when you have one, there are a lot of people who had one. You got to
true.
go get more. If you're going to be mentioned with these greats, you got to go get more than one, right? And Giannis, we're now, we're at a point where you talk about it with Ja especially. That he's got to work on his skills, got to work on his mid-range jumper. He got to just not lean on the athleticism. Are we too far gone with Giannis? Is this a guy who he has leaned on his athleticism and the ability to just bully people, and he has not learned the jumper?
Well, not quite, because when we say that about Ja finishes the game with like 12 points, 8 assists, and like 5 rebounds. Giannis, with a bad shooting night, he still dominates, and he is improving. So I don't think the issue is obviously if Giannis shoots better, it's going to help them win. But I don't think his shooting was exposed at all. Some people just have off nights shooting. He shot a lot better this year, tremendously better, especially from the free throw line.
Yeah,
I think what was surprising for me was the 3 missed layups. He never misses layups, ever.
I think that is
water,
part of,
bro.
I think that's part of being tired. Man. I think it's part of being tired. I think it's part of just being tired. I think that was what it was. But hey, we'll see on the other side.
You said before the game, I hope he loses so I could buy his cards. And I want to magnify that because this is not an investment show, but this is about how cards are moving this week and this month and this year. You're a contrarian, right? What's the saying? Bulls win, pigs win. No, bulls win, bears win, pigs get slaughtered, right?
Correct.
I think you need to know which side of the aisle you're on and don't play both sides, right? Because we're in a little bit of a red market right now. We're a little down.
I think if I'll explain that, what's funny is, right, it's a chicken or an egg type of thing. I say, hey, if he loses, his cards can maybe go down a little bit. I'll get in. Right, because if he wins, the cards are going to go up. People are going to think he's going to win a championship, and maybe his cards end, for higher than they.
And you're a contrarian investor. When COVID hit, opportunity.
Yeah, but
it's your stuff.
The thought here is he will win another MVP. He will win another championship, even if he doesn't win it this year. If he won today, cards in the next couple of weeks would be more money. You know what I mean? They'd be. I think they ultimately can get there, and maybe the prices are suppressed. But here's the problem. Why I say it's a chicken or the egg kind of thing. I can't be the only person thinking that. You know what I mean? There are people who have been sitting on the sidelines for Giannis also, and it's like, oh, you know what? When this great company misses earnings, I'm going to go in and I'm going to buy the dip, right? But it doesn't dip. Why? Because there's too many people waiting for it to dip, right? That they jump in. Right? So, I don't expect Giannis's cards to go up now that he was eliminated. This was a hard-fought series. He is a great player, but, I'd be shocked if they, completely crumbled. Look at the one that's ending in PWCC on Thursday, right? The gold. That's like a $500,000 card already, right? Mm-hmm. It's insane. And I expect, people will probably continue to bid on that, right? Ken Golden's auction also ends, in a week, and he's got some great Giannis stuff in there too, So, if it follows suit, right?
Hero's journey, you need a little bit of failure too, right? There is that, the whole bounce back.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, if there's any kind of a huge dip in Giannis's cards, I'd be a little surprised because, this ancillary stuff, there's a great story. You said it yourself this week, Disney's making, a movie about him or a documentary about him, about his life. So I'd be shocked that there's a huge, drop, but, I've been surprised before.
I actually think we might see something kind of crazy and see his card prices keep going up. Because the one event that we thought might potentially happen has happened, but there's all this other qualities about him that I don't think have been priced in. That's my own personal opinion. Most people disagree. We'll see. I'm curious, what Sunday, May 15th, looking back a year from now, will Giannis cards, just the index, be up, down, or the same? Let's get into the data.
And that's, by the way, what you just said. Let's not gloss over it, right? You just said looking a year from now. A year from now, we'll be in the NBA playoffs again. You know what I mean?
True. Well, I meant a day from now. I apologize because I don't trade.
No, I think it's right. But that's the thing. For a year, it really does depend on what your what your time frame is. And let's compare it, right? Because the Kevin Durant Chrome Refractor PSA 10 was one of the bigger drops this week, fully expected. We talked about that, right? This is something that was over $20 per share just a couple weeks ago when they were still alive in the playoffs. It's a great one to compare, right? 1,250 shares at $20 a share. You're talking about something that was at $25,000. There have been some some alt sales, some sales in the major auction houses. This thing was between $16 and $20,000. The price this week per share fell from $17 to $12.75. Right, so there are 1,250 shares. It's $12.75. What are we talking about? Slightly over $15,000 there for the market price on this one. And here's the difference, though. Okay, and I bring this up for a reason, right? Because this is one that maybe it gets beat up too much. Kevin Durant has a legacy. The guy has won MVPs. He's won stuff. But
two questions I actually had was, what is his legacy compared to Giannis? So as you guys are listening to this episode, ask yourself that question.
Let's do that. And I think the reason why this gets punished a little more than Giannis' stuff might be is because this was one that would have really added to his legacy. People who were in this card were banking on him because this was his team. Kyrie played for half the year. Harden was traded away. There was no Simmons. He didn't even play at all. So this was KD. It wasn't KD
Thank you for making me
jumping
feel
on
better with that nice little reminder about Simmons. Anytime I'm feeling down, just remind me about Simmons.
There we go. So your Philadelphia team got rid of him. You should be happy. But we can talk about Philly in a sec too.
We got a homeless guy in return.
But this would have been huge, and I think people were banking on that. And more importantly, Durant. I'm not going to say he's done, but he's been in the league since what, 2007? Right? I mean, he's been in the league for a while, right? It doesn't mean he's finished, but the opportunities for him to win more championships every year that goes by that he doesn't win one is one less year. You would think that Giannis has more time, the ability to stack up, wins, MVPs, you name it, over the next decade.
Do you think uncertainty have anything to do with it? Like, you kind of know what Giannis's next 1, 2, 3 years are going to be. With Durant, you don't know what that team's going to even look like next year. Kyrie, with the whole Nike thing, Nike just dropped Kyrie. There's always that uncertainty. What does that Nets team look like next year? But and he's coming off an Achilles.
It kind of cuts both ways also, though. Like, wouldn't his legacy already be established? He's one of the greatest scorers to ever play the game, right? He will continue to play and will continue to move up the all-time scoring ranks and be thought of as, a top 20 player of all time, I'm sure, with championships, with MVPs, with the numbers that he's putting up. So you would think that the floor on him should already be set. Your ceiling could be more if he adds on accolades, if he wins another ring. But so that's why it's a little bit of a surprise to see, this precipitous of a drop here. I mean, this is, it's a pretty big 20-something% drop. So I was a little surprised by that. But I looked at that specific card for a reason, obviously. I look at that card because we're going to see Giannis just exited the playoffs. What's going to happen with his cards, right? Are we going to see an exit? And if Durant is any indication, the week after Durant exited the playoffs, it didn't go down that much. It went from 19 a share to 17. It wasn't until the following week that you had this, real crazy drop from 17 to 12 and change. So just interesting stuff. We like to look at the, the data that's available for everybody just to kind of, be a guide, right? And the Durant one, I think, is an interesting one because you look at like exits from the playoffs. What stuck out to you? You want to go through
18% for a die cut. So we'll stay on basketball, right? We're going Giannis, Durant. Let's hit Jokic. So let me throw a scenario that might be crazy, but might not be. Let's say the Nuggets are second in the West. They have a Grizzlies type run next year. They get to the Western Conference Finals, and there's talk, right? And I'm doing this on purpose versus saying he wins a trophy. There's talk of them being in the hunt to win a trophy, the championship, right?
Yep.
And now you're looking at Jokic's resume and you're like, this guy's 2 MVPs and might win his first title.
Yep.
Do you think Jokic is a play?
Well, I've talked about that, the Jokic item that's available. I mean, I do because he's now won back-to-back MVPs, but he doesn't really get too much in the way of love from the hobby. I think the West. Well, I mean, listen, I think the West is too tough. I think the West is really difficult. And I mean, we talked about this. Remember, I said, hey, pair him up with Luka, and then let's see what happens, right? Okay, that's a different story. Yeah, I mean, I have a tough time investing in Joker because what else do you want him to do? You know what I mean? What else do you want him? What other numbers do you want to see out of the guy? And yet the needle really hasn't moved too much on his stuff, which means that maybe there's one or two people out there who will buy.
There's not enough of a collector base.
Yeah, you don't really hear people going out there saying, "Wow, I have to have that Joker card."
I hear you. All right, let's get into some data. Just wrote some real quick. Market was down 3.21% this week. Cards were down 3.5%. Memorabilia down 2%. Incredible. There was a buyout of the Kobe game worn rookie sneakers, the ugliest sneakers he's ever had, but they're iconic. They look like Star Wars. No, he said it, actually. He called it the other company. They look like moon boots. Signed, and I think it was Silver Sharpie. I think Sports Card EX bought it. I think that was a steal. How many of those are there? $150? 150,000. I'm sorry.
$150. Now I'm buying it. They took 150 buyout. Let's go. $150. I can't even buy Kobe's that are designed for me for $150. You got Kobe's actual shoes selling for $150. I love it.
I think it was a steal, man. It's one of those things that you're gonna see more and more collectors look at the platform for buyouts for rare opportunities, right? Because this is such an inefficient market. There is price discovery, but there's not that much liquidity. So you don't really know what is that item worth and during what period of time, right? We're facing inflation, high prices on food, gas, all that stuff. People aren't really looking to invest in Kobe's game-worn sneakers. But if you have the ability to hold these for 20 years, that was an incredible opportunity. I think there's more of those that are just underpriced memorabilia that you kind of think about it. These are one-of-one items of his rookie year signed over a 20-year period. I think that's $1 million item. So that buyout stuck out for me. More data. Tennis was up 46%. I believe that's on the Serena Williams card. I'm not totally sure. Soccer down 22%. Hockey down 4%. Wrestling, that's the Rock card, down 7.5%. What else stuck out to you? You want to talk a little bit about Erling Haaland, Cage?
No, I mean, listen, I'd like to talk, if we stick with basketball, and then we can go maybe some baseball. If you want to talk about hockey, that's fine. If you're a believer, for a while there, the dual autos of the GOATs were a big thing, right? If you're a believer in the dual autos of the GOATs, there's one card just to take a look at on the platform. It's the Jordan LeBron sign of the times. It's the 05-06 sign of the times dual auto. You can take a look at that one if you want to pull it up. This thing IPO'd at $10 a share at 16,500 shares, which is $165,000. It has moved significantly, up, down, you name it. But what's important is, for whatever reason, it went from $7.08 per share to close last Friday down to $6 even per share, which means this fell below $100,000 as the market value on it. So it's $99,000. I don't know whether this is a trend. I don't know whether we're seeing these cards, but ultimately these kind of grail items where you have both Jordan and LeBron on a real cool looking dual autograph. There's not a huge amount of these out there. These are ones where ultimately this is going to come to a price where it will be a potential buyout opportunity, as you talked about. Another card to look at. Yeah, shoot.
Can we stay on this and basketball?
Yeah, let's stay on it. Yep.
Cage, LeBron market. Give me your 3, 6, and 12-month projection. I mean, we haven't even talked about this guy, and this he is the NBA market. We forget about that, but talk to me. 3, 6, 12 months. What do you think?
So 3 months, not so much. Right? Because you'd like to think, oh, well, he's exited. He's not, he's not there either. Why do we think his cards are going to go down like Durant's cards go down? And you think Giannis's cards might go down? Well, you kind of knew that LeBron wasn't winning a championship for the last couple of months. Like that team they put together was a train wreck. So his cards and his prices have already, found that bottom, I think. And 3 months, you're not going to get much in the way of news as far as like building that team out right now, right? You're going to have the finals here. You're going to have, the rest of the playoffs for the next month. We're playing into June now, and then you have a little bit of a nothing time, right? But then you're going to start to hear about rebuilding. You're going to start to hear about whatever Phil Jackson's going to be doing, the advice they're getting from Magic Johnson, or whatever the story is, right? But you're going to have
a lot
this,
of cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, but remember, the ultimate cook, the last one who gets to taste the food before it gets served, is going to be LeBron. I don't care what anybody else says. Even Jeannie Buss, who's the one who brought these people out, right? Her team said, we're just going to make sure we keep LeBron happy. The way to keep him happy is to let him be the one who is the marionette, let him control who's playing with him. It didn't work out for him last time, but they sold that place out. The Lakers made plenty of money. They're making a ton of money with LeBron on the team. So my hope is for LeBron and for LeBron collectors, which I'm not one, but would be for them to build a team around them that gives them another shot, right? To give them a chance to actually do something next year, make the playoffs. The West's tough. That's the only problem. But, there'll be people available. Things will get blown up. And that 3-6 month window, there should be some interest when they start redesigning the team. Remember, it was at the National last year when they signed Westbrook. And all of a sudden it was like, all right, let's buy the LeBron cards. Everybody buy your Westbrook cards. They got a super team. There you go. You match them up with Anthony Davis and Westbrook, and look at all these MVP caliber players you got going on here. The rest of the league they shouldn't even show up.
They shouldn't even play. Do you think LeBron gets traded?
No.
Are you worried about LeBron having?
Why would they ever trade him?
I'm just rapid fire. LeBron having a ton of high value cards. So what I've noticed is maybe more than any player other than Kobe, LeBron has so many high value, high ticket cards. Because, think about it. He's been through 3 eras as well. Panini, Upper Deck, and Topps Chrome. He has a lot of cards out there. Does that worry you?
I will say this.
Supply?
Yes, because whether people want to come to terms with this or not, there's a very big difference between a great player with expensive cards who's still on the field, still someone you can root for, still someone you can see do it every Sunday, someone who's adding to their legacy, as opposed to a player who is done, right? And let's give some real world examples, right? Because we try to do value here, and we'll give some analysis, but let's give real world examples because I think this will be helpful for everybody.
By the way, 28 minutes in, incredible haircut, top notch, maybe top 5 of all time.
Thanks, man. So ready. The people who have been on the ride now for the this recent uptick, this great creation of wealth in the hobby, this great 2-year period that we've all gone through here, they've been luckier perhaps than any other hobby boom time, because they have the greatest football player to ever do it still playing and still adding to his legacy. They have one of the 2 best basketball players of all time adding to his legacy as well. And then everybody coming up compared to them. It's part of the reason why baseball is not, as collected or as invested in as those 2 sports, because you have those GOATs there, right? You have these greats. Now, Trout wins this year. He wins an MVP, wins a championship. Maybe, maybe we start talking about Trout as one of the greats and all. But there is a huge thing there, right? Think about this, right? We're here on Collectable, the Fractional Report, before the opening bell to talk about cards as an asset class. Well, let's compare them to an asset that is already a known asset class. Let's compare it to Netflix stock. Netflix stock was trading at a specific price with a huge multiple price to earnings ratio because it was a growth company. It was something that every quarter, the earnings report that was coming out was supposed to forecast continuous growth. And because it had that, it had a tech company multiple. This was a company that was going to continue to grow. And people were investing in it at these higher multiples because it was something that was supposed to continue to do more and more and more and more. You know what happened
user
last quarter?
Growth over user growth, yes.
Last quarter, they stopped growing and they actually lost millions of users. And the stock got its ass beat. I'm going to compare Netflix to Drew Brees. Because if you go back to the beginning of this, people were buying Drew Brees cards. We talked about Drew Brees' contenders auto. We talked about Drew Brees' upper deck autos. We talked about Drew Brees' Topps Chrome cards. We talked about him and compared him to Brady and said, all right, well, it's Brees and Brady. And Brees has more touchdowns, but maybe Brady will catch him. And it's those two guys in the record books and the whole deal. Now, of course, Brees didn't have the, all of the star power that Brady does. He doesn't have Brady's resume. But for a time there, he was mentioned in the same sentence because he was playing still, and maybe he could add to it, and maybe he can continue to throw more touchdowns, and maybe he'll have another MVP. Do you know how often I hear about Drew Brees now? I heard about him today. You want to know why? Because the network he did the commentating for fired him.
No.
So now not only has Drew Brees stopped playing, so he became cardboard irrelevant, he had the broadcasting job where he was doing games. Now he doesn't even have that, right? So I do this for not to shit on Drew Brees, because it's very important for folks to understand this, right? I believe part of the bloat on LeBron and Brady's cards is because people still have them in this hybrid thing. They have a floor, but because they're still going out there on Sunday, they're still relevant. People still talk about him. Hey, I got this Brady card. Did you see what he did? It's sort of like Ja. Right? Oh, do you see Ja's dunk? Yeah, look at this Ja card I got over here. Oh, you see what Ohtani's doing? Look at this card I have here. No one's going to a card show and flexing their Drew Brees card on Monday morning anymore. Nobody's putting it up on Instagram because they're not showing Drew Brees still throw 4 touchdowns, even though he was great. And when he was doing it, you had people, who were blowing that up. So if your point is LeBron has a lot of expensive cards and what's going to happen with those, people do need to realize that there will be a point in time where, as my daughter is learning in 7th grade science, that potential energy turns into kinetic energy, right? You're no longer betting on LeBron or Brady based on what they still may do because they're not going to be doing it anymore. They'll be done. And I don't know whether or not the multiple that we're putting on these cards will still be there.
Finance, science, and cards. Insert a atom bomb going off. Look at this guy's fucking bringing it. All right, let's keep rocking.
Listen, before you go into something else, I do need to talk for 1 second about an amazing thing that happened in baseball today. And no, it's not a fractional thing. It's not a collectible thing. No, dude, you ready for this?
Yeah,
that's how I get ready. A team got no hit today. The Pittsburgh Pirates got no hit today.
No, they didn't hit a single player with the pitch?
They didn't put a ball in the field of play for a hit.
Stick hit the ball.
They didn't get a hit. So the Pittsburgh Pirates went 9 innings today, and they did not get a single hit. They were no hit by the Reds. But here's what's amazing about it. They were no hit and won. They didn't get a single hit in the game, and they won the game.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah, let's see how it works out for them. No, seriously, I think the Reds, who are, they had a monumentally horrible start to the season and actually put some wins together. Their pitchers combined for a no-hitter against them, but the Reds only mustered up 4 hits and scored no runs. And in, I think, the 8th inning, the Pittsburgh Pirates, they walked 3 guys, and then on a fielder's choice, they scored a run, and they won the game 1-0, being no hit. That is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in baseball. And baseball's been around for, over a century and a half. We're going to be approaching 2 centuries, for baseball. I've never seen that.
The Pirates are the first team since 2008 to win a game with 0 hits. This is the 6th time in MLB history that a team has allowed no hits in 8 or 9 innings and still lost. 6 times in 200 years.
In 170 or whatever, however many years baseball's been played.
I don't like the strategy.
I didn't even know what happened in 08.
I bet Coach Bud is actually a part-time manager of the Reds.
Well, listen, I just wanted to mention that because it's just one of those crazy things that you do not see happen. And there you go. It happened today. You go look at the box score. It's one of those crazy box scores. You look at it. Okay, they got no hit. How'd they win? Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't really have a lot of I don't really feel bad for people. Typically, I'm empathetic, but when I see teams that are perpetually bad, my heart hurts for them. Like the Reds being perpetually bad, that's got to be terrible.
When they get a good player, it's a little difficult. So can I talk about?
They gave him to us.
Let's stick with baseball for 1 second. We talk about when you get the perfect storm, and that is the value of an item on Collectable dropping because of whatever, somebody exiting it, liquidity, you name it, at the same time as you get a comp that's higher. So take a look at the Ronald Acuna Gold Refractor BGS 9.5, right? The current trading price is at $27,040. All right, it was down this week. It was down significantly. It was in the mid 30s in valuation, right? You're gonna pull it up.
The gold?
Acuna, yes, the Acuna Gold. It's I think it's out of 60, the Gold Refractor.
It's a weird number. I think we're going to see a bit of panic selling out of 50. 26 out of 50 here. Okay, did I lose you, or it went from $7 to $5.20, down 25% this week.
35,000, down to 27,000, right?
Yep.
So what's the card number on this? Is it CPARA? What flip it over to the back, or look at the label if you can. I can't see it.
CPARA, yes.
Yeah, CPARA. So a 2017 Bowman Chrome Prospect Autograph Gold Refractor Ronald Acuna CPARA in BGS 9.5 sold this past week on alt for $44,435. Now, obviously, there are subs in the whole 9 yards, and you can take a look at the subs on that and compare them to this. But you have now two things happening. You have this item going down, right, and going down from a 35 and change multiple down to a market cap to a 27 because it went from 7 and change down to 5. But at the same time, I think it was 5.9. I think it was May 9th. Alt had the 2017 Bowman Chrome Prospects Gold Refractor sell for $44,435. So, interesting because now that's a pretty big discrepancy. Take a look at the subs and do your homework on that. But we do like to point out.
Well, this is the opportunity for investors. So, there are some things about Fractional that are more beneficial to a collector than the people on the platform. But this is one of those that's more beneficial to the people on the platform than a collector because someone's going to come and buy this out. It's inevitable. Well, I mean, if they see it at 26 and it just sold for 44, nothing happened to the guy. That's not a fake comp. You know how alt works. It's paid automatically.
Yep.
Someone's going to, and it gives you the opportunity because you listen to the show. You follow this market. It gives you the opportunity Monday morning, Tuesday morning, before anyone gets to it, to take advantage of that arbitrage. That is one of the benefits.
The other thing you'll be looking at is Luka. I mean, by the time you are listening to this, most likely Luka and the Suns, the Mavs and the Suns game will be over. You'll be, definitely by the time trading opens Monday morning, you'll know the outcome of that one. And this could go the opposite direction, right? Because if the Suns win and Luka's knocked out, it doesn't help Luka's cards. I think Luka had a great series, and the fact that he got him this far should already bring his value up. But in that same alt liquid auctions, the Blue Prism PSA 10 sold, and I think it was a low digit. Not that anybody cares. It was number 4 out of 199, I think. But it wasn't a jersey number. But it was 4 of 199 sold for $37,801.98. The one that's on Collectable is at $45,300. So not a crazy discrepancy. That's about $8,000 in difference there, $7,500 in difference. So, you're talking about what, 17, 18% below what is trading out here. But when you add that the most recent comp is trading almost 20% below, and if Luka happens to lose, now you have two things that might have some downward pressure on the card. I think
people are holding that card, waiting for the run to be over. If I'm in Fractional and I own that card, I'd want to let it run, see how he does, versus selling on Friday or Thursday.
Yeah. So, but they will on Monday know how he's done, and if he doesn't win, you might have a bunch of people who were holding it on Thursday, Friday, hoping that he won, and he didn't. So it's just one of those things to kind of take a look at it. As far as a recent comp that's a little lower, and you'll know where he stands when trading opens. Anything else fun that you wanted to talk
I have
about?
A little contrarian idea or thought. So,
ooh, nice. I like those.
When playoffs and meaningful games are more entertaining, and you like in hockey and in basketball, we're seeing maybe the most entertaining playoffs we've seen in a very long time, in my opinion. But in terms of games and people engage and all that stuff, a lot of game sevens, I think that takes away from actually card prices because you have Tatum versus Giannis, Luka versus Booker, Steph versus Ja, and Ja did have his run up, but you're actually not seeing a ton of movement on either side of the player, right? Because the entertainment is now on TV versus it was funny when COVID wasn't there, we were betting on the players, but there was no kind of we didn't maybe because we didn't have the entertainment or because we didn't have the results on a continuous basis. So it's actually interesting. I would think there would be more volatility, and there hasn't been because everyone that's still left: Luka on collectible, Giannis on collectible, Tatum was on collectible, but he got bought out. So a lot of the players that we see playing, Ja on collectible. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, you got to think. I mean, Giannis is not there, but if Luka wins, you got to think that's going to have a significant impact on his cards. Listen, it's interesting stuff to look at. I will let folks know. I mean, this sport better than me. One of the big risers of the week. It had fallen a little bit. It was down to $10.25 a share, moved all the way up to 15. So you're talking about an almost 50% jump. So it's just something to keep an eye on. It's now at its high as of Friday's close. Is its highest close ever on this one. It's now, I believe, 3 times the IPO price. This thing IPO'd $5 a share and 3,550 shares. So you're talking about, what is that? Just under 17,000 in value. And now you're talking about it, it being 15. So, you're nearing, you're around 50,000. If you want to take a look at this one, what I'm talking about is the Serena 03 Net Pro PSA 10 basket. There's a basket of 2 of those 03 Net Pro Elite Serena Williams rookies. And like I said, that thing IPO'd at $5 a share, and it is, as of close of business Friday, a huge bump up spike from $10.25 the week before to $15. I've been watching tennis. I know you got that kid who won the Madrid Open. I didn't see Serena playing in that.
Say his name.
Nadal Jr.
Alcatraz.
It's Alcaraz, right? There's no T in it, but yes, I remember it by Alcatraz. So I don't know what caused such a huge jump in the price on that.
I think slowly the women's sport realize how great she is. I think it's really that simple. Like if you look at what she's accomplished with the sport, I mean, it's a tiny sport and a tiny collector base in the grand scheme of things compared to NFL, NBA, UFC, even Formula One. But if it ever gains the popularity that F1 does, she's the Lewis Hamilton of the sport.
I will say this, at the card show I went to today, there was a couple of new dealers, and one dealer new, never at the show before, had 3 showcases, 1 UFC, 1 soccer, 1 tennis. Had a bunch of really cool dual
empirical
relic
evidence or anecdotal evidence.
It's anecdotal, but that's all I had.
There were 4 tables at the whole show.
No, there's like 50, 60 tables, but not a lot of new ones, and it was weird. I mean, cool Federer, Djokovic piece of the ball from when they played, actual game, event used tennis ball, cool pieces, like just things that you don't see too often. They didn't have a lot of traffic because they didn't have any Jaws and there weren't any Justin Herberts on their table, so a lot of people weren't looking to deal with them.
You think Justin Herbert and Ja are the same person too?
Of course, I use those as a comparison because you made your argument so well yesterday that clearly I think they should make a Step Brothers 2 movie starring Herbert and Ja. Right? They should just do karate in the garage, 100%. So, any other useful information for our folks? You want to go through any of the IPOs or anything that's coming out? You want to talk about the LBJ Kobe Topps basket, the Topps rookie card basket of BGS Pristines? That's an interesting one.
By the way, there is a Herbert card on Collectable that is right now a little bit below IPO. Something to take a look at. Say that again, Keach?
Take a look at it for me because it's a very interesting one. The LeBron James, the Topps rookie basket of Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, where it's the BGS pristine ones, right? Because we've talked about this, PSA 10 versus BGS 10. And you take a look at, the Topps rookie card basket that's there of both LeBron and Kobe, right?
Impossible card to get in the 10. I love this card.
So what's interesting about this is it IPO'd it's the two of them combo, right? So you got two 10s there.
Yes,
right?
you do.
It IPO'd at $10 a share, 1,500 shares. So we're talking about $15,000 total on these.
Mm-hmm.
And this past week, it went down from $9.10 a share to $8 per share, which means, if you're doing quick math on this one, right, it's 1,500 shares times 8, $12,000 combined for two BGS 10 rookies of Kobe and LeBron. I don't know which one it's in. It might be in golden. I think there's a Topps Chrome LeBron base with the black label. It's a huge multiple.
Huge.
Let me
just give a quick pop. So
please.
Kobe Topps, there's only 67 BGS 10s, and there's only 39 BGS 10s of the LeBron card, just to give people some context.
So, these are the kind of things where, those cards are mass produced. Like even PSA pop is significant, but now you're talking about having a couple of dozen in the BGS 10 pop of these things. There are probably people who would potentially pay a premium for it, and you're talking about an item that only has a $12,000 total market cap for those two BGS 10s. Just an interesting one that I hasn't been trading for that long. It's just one that I noticed the price kind of fall below the IPO price now. By about 20%.
You know what I've noticed? If the ratio of PSA 10 to BGS 10 in a bear market is like 2-1, in a bull market, it becomes 3-4 to 1.
There you go.
Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. Makes total sense. Makes total sense. What else you got? You want to go through the IPOs and stuff, and then we'll let everybody get on with their trading day?
So something that's funded is the Pele card. Pele is as hot as they get right now. Understandably so. I think all vintage, even kind of undiscovered grades of vintage, have been kind of flying. Early access. So we have the wax basket from 1980 Topps. Unopened wax. You guys know how I feel about that. That's the trio card, right, Cage?
Yep.
The Bird, Magic, Irvin card. We have Charles Barkley, game-worn Suns jersey. 56 points, which is his career high. Market cap of $151,000. I got to tell you, man, Sir Charles, I think he's going to be so revered after his day, man. I really do. I don't know if you agree with that, disagree, but I think Charles is
still relevant. Still,
I think he's getting more relevant, even. You know what I mean? Like that hardly ever happens where he had a really good career. People kind of don't realize, but he never won, right? But to do what he's done now. So now 1996, 1997 Skybox EX 2000, another unopened box basket of 29,000. That's Kobe's rookie year.
Yep.
Incredible. Ovechkin, 4-color RPA. You have two Ovechkin cards available. You have the Mike Trout Bowman Sterling Gold Refractor Autograph BGS 9.5. Market cap of $67,000 with 30% retained. Bellinger, irrelevant. Tatis rides motorcycles. Juan Soto already won a championship. And Trae Young, game-worn and signed sneaker. Who cares? Because he sucks.
All right, before you hang up, I meant to do this before you end the episode. There was heritage auctions that ended. They ended this past week, right? So they ended Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, you name it. So a couple of just quick comps, just because, when things sell, I do want to make sure you have, the numbers on them. Take a look at the heritage auctions yourself, because some of these things, have also just ended. Also, why you should look directly at them is, the cards that I'm talking about now, like, for example, the 51 Bowman Willie Mays PSA 7, right? There's one on the platform, right? And it's trading at $77,000. The one that ended on Heritage sold for $50,402. That's 2/3 of the price. But the one that sold on Heritage was not the greatest 7. It's a little off-centered and the whole 9 yards. So obviously when it comes to vintage, the IPL is a huge thing. But I do want to make sure that we bring you as much value as we can on these shows, and that you understand that there's a 7 on the platform, a 7 just sold, and it sold for 2/3 of the price. Same thing with Willie Mays PSA 8, the 1952 Topps. There's one on the platform at $233. The card ended at $180 at Heritage Auction. Sandy Koufax, there was an SGC 8 that ended at 14 and change. Collectible has a PSA
What's the
8.
deal? What's the deal
Not
with Sandy
exactly,
Koufax? Other than
the
him
left
pitching
hand of God.
on Yom Kippur or
Left
something
hand
like
of God. He's an interesting story because when he came up, he wasn't that great. And then he just found it and became the greatest pitcher in the league for, but for several years in a row. He did not.
Kershaw-esque?
Sure. I think Koufax was a little more dominant than Kershaw was.
Kershaw was pretty dominant, unless he played the St. Louis Cardinals.
Pretty much. Let's see. The 65 tops Mickey Mantle PSA 9 sold. There are no 10s of the 65 tops. Really cool one with the flag on it. This one I like to bring up because the one on Collectable is trading for $28,900. The Heritage one sold for $36,000, which is over 20% higher than the one on Collectable. So that's one to maybe take a look at. We've talked about these Mantle 9s and how people buy them. They make the whole run like a vertical.
Can I talk about them?
Shoot.
I think the same way people chase Bowl, people chase Mantle.
Bowl. All right. One that's not so great as far as comp for numbers. The PSA 9 scoring leaders of the Irving, Johnson, Julius Irving, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. The 9 actually had a very good comp. It sold for 21.6. The trading on Collectibles at 23, so that's right in line. But an 8 sold in this auction for $4,080. There's a basket of 2 on Collectible at $16,500, which means the price is $82.50 each, which is more than twice what the 8 ended for. There's a lot of these. There's a lot of 9s. There's a lot of 8s. 10s, not so many. So just one to kind of keep an eye on. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that was worth noting. I think that's pretty much all of them. There were a lot of cards that are similar, right? But you can't really compare like SGC 7 or SGC 3 to a PSA 4. Like it's difficult. It's difficult enough when you have one comp one day versus what's being traded when they're not like even if they are the same grading company, same grade, the card itself can be different. But just there's plenty of stuff out there. Just wanted to make sure you saw that. Heritage did have their auction end. Next week we'll probably be bringing you some PWCC Premier ends Thursday, and the weekend I think Golden Auction ends their May auction as well. So we'll have some data and some comps for you from that as well. That's it. Thanks, Luca Nation.
You're on a roll.
Yeah, jeez. Man. I mean, I want to make sure people know about these. The comps are important, because people will trade based on them, and even though it's just one data point. Some of these are significant deviations, both positive and negative, from the closing price on Friday.
So thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me. And I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card. Simple as that. And the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com, or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.